Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Movie Magic Show for Wednesday, the 7th of July, 2021. I'm one of your hosts, Shane Bailey, joined by my wickedly talented cast. To my right, he loves his VR and shaking his hips like Shakira. Please welcome the era of Jason Mira.
Hey.
How are you, Jace?
Living the dream. I'm nice and rugged up in my little fat, fluffy hoodie, so I'm good.
Hoodie, right?
Great.
Hoodie.
It's my hoodie. Yeah, that's right.
Very nice.
That's right.
To your right, it's the dulcet tones in your headphones, here to engineer a sincere atmosphere, Terry Fear.
What's up?
How are you, Terry?
I am very well. Very, very well. I had one of the best burgers I've had in quite some time this evening. for
Oh,
dinner.
that is very well. That constitutes very well indeed.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
rounding out the cast, his knowledge of flicks will have you transfixed as he nitpicks Hollywood's latest hits. It's Jason Hendricks.
Hello, Shane. It's so good to be here.
Good to have you back, my friend. How have you been?
I've been really good. Yeah, I mean, fighting that lockdown, not really lockdown, still working, still blowing them bubbles.
Blah, blah.
Oh, no, it's bubbles.
Blah, blah.
Anyway, we're so glad that you've chosen to tune into the Movie Magic Show every Wednesday around 8:30pm Australian Eastern Standard Times. We chuckleheads get together to love, like, bash, and trash the latest the entertainment world has to offer. If you like that, please follow us on Twitter at Movie Magic Show and follow us here on Twitch as well. Hit that bell icon so you're notified when we go live. And if you miss any episodes, you can catch all the VODs on YouTube as well. Just search Magic Casts on YouTube and you'll find that channel. This week, we're going to be reviewing Silver Linings Playbook, which was the Best Picture nominated film from 2012, starring Bradley Cooper, Jennifer Lawrence, and a whole host of other actors we know and love. Terry's been watching Kung Fu Panda 3, which Ben spoke about only a few weeks ago. We spoke about the entire trilogy.
Pretty much why we watched it.
Right. And we'll round out the show with some movie actor go. Before we do that, though, we need to tee up our end games. These are the games we like to play at the end of the show. First and foremost are our movie quotes. We're going to give you two quotes. You need to try and guess which movies they're from. I'm going to go to the amazing Jason Mira for movie quote number one.
All right, let me bring it up. I did have it here a moment ago, but I just lost it, so I don't know where it is. So if I vamp on a little bit. Okay, here we go. My quote for tonight is, man, there's not a year that goes by, not a year, that I don't read about some escalator accident involving some bastard kid that could have easily been avoided had some parent, I don't care which one, but some parent conditioned him to fear and respect that escalator.
Sorry, what was that, Chase? I'm joking. I'm lost. As per usual, I've got no idea.
I've definitely...
I think I know it, but I think I'm wrong.
Okay.
Mr. Hendricks, I'm going to you for movie quote number two, sir.
It's not as long-winded as Jace's. It's actually really, really subtle. It's just, what's your favorite scary movie?
I know this.
Go girls.
I mean, I didn't say it with the voice. I don't even want to attempt it. But
That's right.
Yeah.
Anyway, and the other game we like to play is our 6 Degrees. We name two actors. You need to try and link them via films that they've starred alongside other actors in. So as an example, if I gave you Samuel L. Jackson and Nicole Kidman, one solution would be Samuel L. starred in The Phantom Menace with Ewan McGregor, and Ewan McGregor starred in Moulin Rouge with Nicole Kidman. That would be 2 degrees. The dulcet tones of Terry Fear has our subject actors this week, and they are...
You're goddamn right I do. We've got Maggie Smith to Emma Stone. Now, I didn't come up with this one myself. I was hanging with a friend, and I asked her to give me 2 names of actors that weren't in the same movie together. And she was like, I've never done this exercise before. And so that's what she came up with. So if it's great, credit goes to her. If it's not great, it's also her fault.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good
what
to know.
constitutes a not great, as in like too easy?
Too easy.
The same movie together. Yeah. If they're in the same movie together, or if they're only separated by like a single degree, that's not fun.
Anyway, those are our end games. If you discover the answer yourselves, let us know in chat. Otherwise, we will come to solutions together at the end of the show. But before we get to the end of the show, let's get to the start of the show and review Silver Linings Playbook. This is the 2012 David O. Russell romantic dramedy, I think you could say. The IMDb synopsis goes, after a stint in a mental institution, former teacher Pat Solitano moves back in with his parents and tries to reconcile with his ex-wife. Things get more challenging when Pat meets Tiffany, a mysterious girl with problems of her own. It's written and directed by David O. Russell, based on the novel by Matthew Quick. Like I said, it came out in 2012. It stars Bradley Cooper, Jennifer Lawrence, Robert De Niro, Australia's own Jackie Weaver. We also have Chris Tucker and Julia Stiles. I think they're most of the notable names in this one. It was nominated for a bunch of Oscars, including Best Picture. The 4 top billed actors in Bradley Cooper, De Niro, Weaver, and Jennifer Lawrence were all nominated for Best Performances. Jennifer Lawrence won for Actress in a Leading Role. David O. Russell was also nominated for Best Achievement in Directing and Best Writing Adapted Screenplay, and it was also got a Film Editing nom as well. So it did very well at the 2013 Academy Awards. I'm not sure if we reviewed this one way back in the Awesome Addiction days.
I think we did. I'm pretty sure
2012.
I feel like we did.
we must have. We definitely watched it together.
Because we started the show at March 2013, like around that Academy Awards. So we probably spoke about it, but it came out tail end of 2012, so maybe we didn't review it formally. Maybe it was a pile of shame we visited long ago. But anyway, we were struggling to come up with what to review this week, and I just perused Netflix and saw Silver Linings right there listed as an option. And I love David O. Russell, so many of his films that I've enjoyed, particularly in recent history, following that with American Hustle and whatnot. So I'm always keen for an O. Russell film. Jason, what Mira, that is, what memories do you have of this one? Because you mentioned you hadn't seen it in a while.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in a while. I remember enjoying it up to the point where I had to stop it to go pick up my other half at the time, and then come back and I was like, where was I up to again? And then started and watch it again. So that's one big memory. Another memory was like, man, Jennifer Lawrence earns the credit that she gets, because she really delivered in that role. That whole scene, I don't know, are we past the statute of limitation now? Can we talk about?
It's been 9 years. Yeah, go for it.
So the whole scene where she has that confrontation with Frick, what's his name? The dad.
De Niro.
Yeah, up against him. It's usually De Niro is usually owning the scene, right?
Yeah, he's usually the dominant. Yeah.
Yeah, but that whole
player.
scene, he's on he starts that way, but then she comes in and he's kind of oh shit.
Yeah.
His character's shit, this woman knows her football,
It makes me think of the
De Niro's
Doberman.
normally outshadowing, but she's outshadowing him.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes me think of the Doberman that's or maybe it's a Great Dane that's looking behind the curtain and a cat smacks it and it's that's what comes to mind when I think of that scene.
Was that it, Chase? That's all I remember?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. What else? It's a. I don't know. The thing I remember walking away with that film was it's a good. I felt really happy that I had watched it. I felt happy that I experienced what I saw. It was a really good movie about complex people told in a fun way. Yeah, I recommend it to anyone that I could. I remember talking to one of my colleagues about it the next day. I was like, yeah, I saw the movie. It was actually pretty good, We should probably sell some of the books. And we did! I think I would have liked to have watched it again for the show. I unfortunately didn't get that much time to watch it with before tonight's episode, but I definitely want to go back and watch it because I've got a few friends that haven't seen it before at all, so definitely want to revisit it. I'm really interested to hear your thoughts about it, watching it fresh off of your viewing earlier this week or today, was it?
It was just last night. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd really like to hear your thoughts. How does it hold up?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's like I said, I'm a huge David O. Russell fan. I think if I just go to his filmography, at least what he's directed, the ones that jump out at me are The Fighter, Silver Linings Playbook, and American Hustle. Joy was, I think, take it or leave it for me. I didn't walk away, having really felt too
It's
much.
very meh.
Yeah, I remember you guys saying that about Joy. Yeah.
Yeah, which was a real shame because he would probably be one of my favorite directors, honestly, just off the back of The Fighter, Silver Linings, and American Hustle.
Such a shame.
These are films that when I revisit, I feel like I enjoy more and more. I think I've watched American Hustle probably 4 or 5 times, and I remember coming away thinking that was pretty good. And then on each rewatch, it just climbs up as a film that I adore more and more. And The Fighter started high and only gets higher. It really is off the back of just fantastic ensemble cast, incredible chemistry between all of them, fantastic writing, and fascinating stories as well. You know, these are seemingly just everyday people going about their lives, and there's some kind of turbulence amongst all that. And they're brought to life by amazing performances and brilliant writing, and I think that could be true for all of the films that I just noted. With Silver Linings in particular, you're right, Jace. Like, Jennifer Lawrence absolutely shines, and I think I'm not sure how old she was. Hendrix, you might remember this when she performed in Silver Linings, but she played a character far beyond her years. You know, I think she was 22, maybe 21 at the time, playing, you know, what I think was pegged around a late 20s character.
Yeah, mid to late 20s.
Yeah, please find out her
she was
her
about
date of birth.
24, I'd
She's
say.
born the same year I am.
Well, there you go. So this is a
I'm
2013
older than
film. So it was either film 20.
She was 23.
So it's a 2012 film. Yeah, so she would have been 22, 23 during filming. Blows my mind because she's absolutely incredible. And to be doing that opposite Bradley Cooper, who I probably would class this as his best performance. Like the only other one that jumps to mind is American Sniper, as probably his strongest. And he plays it so well. And to go, you know, to act opposite someone like De Niro and not have scenes, to your point, Hendrix, like overshadowed or stolen away from me is absolutely incredible. And I think also that speaks to O. Russell's writing, right, where he gives equal weight to what's being said from any party that's on screen. So for me, it's classic storytelling, timeless directing, and just moving stories that I know I can reliably come back to each and every time, and I know I'm in for a good ride. But Hendrix, have you rewatched this one at all recently?
Well, funny story. I remember watching it when it came out, and I remember being quite high on it, actually. I remember really enjoying it, and just like you, Shane, like I really like David O. Russell's movies. I was just thinking about what you were talking about just then, and you know how he sets up his scenes and stuff like that. And I think the best thing about O. Russell is that he's so simplistic. Like, he doesn't flash and do anything fancy with his filmmaking. He's not like a Zack Snyder or a Michael Bay, you know? He doesn't do anything flash. He doesn't need to, because he relies on the strength of his writing and the strength of his actors, and I think that's what a really good director does. Like someone like Tarantino or the Coen brothers that can just tell you this story and just let, like, this amazing story, and let the actors do what actors do best, and that's taking the story and like making these characters. I actually tried to watch this film again not long ago, and I couldn't actually get through it. I don't know what it was. Maybe I was in a bad frame of mind. Yeah, I don't know. I was in a bad frame of mind, or maybe I was just my attention span's not what it was, and I was just like sitting there kind of going, like I was a bit bored.
Where are the explosions?
No explosions.
Well, yeah, maybe. It's like, yeah, but there's no superheroes. No, but I was, I don't know. I was a little bit bored. I was just thinking when you were saying, Shane, that the more you watch David O. Russell movies, the more you get out of him. And I was thinking back, The Fighter still stands. I watched that and I liked that a lot. But I was thinking about American Hustle and this movie. Both movies that I absolutely loved when they came out. I dare say that either of them would be on, you know, that year would be like the best, like, my favorite movies of that year or whatever. But the more I try to watch American Hustle, I find it boring more and more I watch it.
I'll admit it's a slow start. Like, it takes a while to set up that movie. But once it gets going, oh boy.
Yeah, and Yeah, I agree with that, and I love the last chapter. Like the last act is just done perfectly, and to the point, maybe counterpoint to what I was saying. I really do like his movies, and I do really like the passion and strength of the performances. This film, I don't know. I'm gonna just agree with everyone and say that Jennifer Lawrence owned this film, and she deserved the win. So she's obviously the strongest part of this film. I think to some point, almost like a fault to the film that I don't want to say she's too good, but is a point where she's so good that it's like the other parts of the story you kind of go, well, that's a bit lackluster. You've got a lot to sort of build up there, but I don't know if you guys have seen it or not, but I Care a Lot on Amazon Prime with Rosamund Pike. I watched that not long ago, and she's up here and everyone else is down here trying to keep up with her, and it's difficult when you have such an amazing performance. And I know this sounds really douchey, but if you have such a great performance, it's really hard to sort of have everything balanced. It's difficult. It's like, you are so good.
Yeah.
Make everything else seem a bullshit. It's like in Hot Fuzz. It's like you've been making us all look bad.
Well, I was actually thinking of that's a fictional example of someone making the rest of the people look bad. But it's like Heat. It's Al Pacino's character in Heat. He's the only character that's dialed to 11, and he's like. And it makes every scene that he's
totally
in feel.
Is. Yeah,
I like the movie. I like Will if
place.
he's watching this. Yeah, he does. He's definitely the sore thumb or the dog's balls. Like, he's sticking out noticeably.
I wonder if because there's a recurring theme in it where you kind of go, is this cop a cocaine junkie? Is he a is he, is he...
It's the
80s. It's like, no, that's just Al Pacino.
It's like, oh, yeah, that's funny.
The movie that I think about when I think about discrepancy or difference in performance is August Osage County. We have Meryl Streep here, and you've got Chris Cooper and Benedict Cumberbatch. They're doing well, but then you've got Ewan McGregor.
They're trying,
and even Julia Roberts. She does a fine performance there, but she just can't go toe to toe with Meryl, man. It's so noticeable.
There's one moment where in that movie where Julia Roberts shines, but it's when Meryl Streep's not in the scene.
Right. Yeah.
No, just to round out my thoughts, I like the simplicity of this film, and O. Russell's directing. I think I watched The Foxcatcher the other day with Steve Carell and Channing Tatum and Mark Ruffalo, and similar kind of thing, right? Oh, it's all right. It's good. It's a bit slow. I think for me, movies like this, and I know I've said this before to you guys, and I know I've said this to Shane recently, but if you do a movie like this that doesn't have explosions and set pieces, and you are relying on the strength of the director, of the actors and the director, obviously, writing, you have this, if a lot of these directors have this very simplistic approach, but it always works. I think of Clint Eastwood does it perfectly. Things like Mystic River, this dramatic storytelling, and his filming just matches that tone. It's crisp, it's very straightforward, it's very basic, it's very simplistic. And I think you need to just really... Yeah.
Yeah, what about you, Terry? Have you seen this one recently?
That's it.
Well, it's funny, when you said that this was the one we were going to talk about, that same day I added it to my list to Netflix to watch again. It was going to be a date night movie, but I ended up watching Kung Fu Panda instead because it was a little bit more lighthearted. I think back on this film very fondly, and the more I've been thinking about it over the last week whenever it was that we decided that this was the movie we were discussing, I can't help but think of my favorite little kind of scenes. I love the explosive anger from Bradley Cooper's character. He's really doing his best to keep a lid on what's kind of going on. And he's reading these classics, and he gets to the end of one of the books. I don't even remember what he's reading.
Right.
And he's just
Hemingway's.
one of Hemingway's. And he's like, what the fuck? And he just hurls it out the window, breaks the window, and people are like, what the hell's wrong with you? He's like, you can't believe this. He's just so angry and just wearing that on his sleeve. I love thinking about this movie again, and it does make me want to watch it again. And there's one of those things, movies that have like in the not too distant future or a specific year that flashes on screen, like New York 2020 or San Francisco whenever it was for Big Hero 6.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it places that film into a date that makes it really difficult to look past whatever you might remember of that time period. And what was it that I was watching recently that had it? And it was like 2008. I'm like, ugh, like that's so long ago. And it puts this timestamp on the film. And when I think about films like Silver Lining, it's not got a date. It doesn't have a particular time period. You could probably tell that it's a late 20s, late 2000s, early 2010s kind of production value, but nothing in the film, like to my memory, places it at a particular time in American history, except that it's past Hemingway's classics, post the smartphone era, because a few of the characters have them. There's not a lot that makes it dated. You've got these really genuine characters, and I say this with the absolute fondness for it, but I would believe that these characters exist. Like, these characters smack so much of real people. I would probably say that the only dissenting opinion I have about Jennifer Lawrence is that her character is probably so extreme that it's almost a caricature of someone who's in maybe similar circumstances. But it's such a borderline thing. She toes the line so much to it's almost too much, but doesn't cross the line. So that's the closest thing I've got to a critique of her performance.
I think that's relevant, Terry, just because like one of the biggest critiques of the film, or criticisms of the film, was its the way that it portrayed mental illness was inaccurate, and it was a caricature, and it was like fast. That was one of the biggest sort of critiques of the film when it came out.
Yeah, sure. And I think it might be a fair criticism if the film is intending to be some type of like Inside Out. No, sorry, is that right? The animated film, Pixar, yeah. That film is deliberately trying to talk about the emotional range and the emotional development of a child. It's trying to explore it, obviously, in a fun and lighthearted way. And a lot of counselors and psychologists, especially if they work with kids, use this movie to help kids to develop a certain amount of emotional intelligence, or at least emotional mapping exercises, so they can understand
like emotional literacy, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Literacy, emotional literacy,
to just help describe and explore emotions.
Yeah, precisely. But I don't think that you would ever have like a psychologist or a counselor referring to this movie and I don't think the movie sets out to be that. Not that Inside Out was like, oh, clinicians are going to love this. Like, I think it was a happy byproduct. But the movie didn't necessarily intend for it to be that. So I don't think it would be fair to necessarily say, oh, a movie didn't accurately depict this particular field of existence. It's like, it's a film. Shut up. Like, just enjoy the fact that you've got people that are doing a really good job of presenting these characters for what they are.
And that's I would be keen to understand those criticisms, because I wonder if it's just inherently like the criticisms come from a place that's sort of. I'm just wondering if this film couldn't be done any other way because it's comedic, right? And I'm wondering if the comedic twist sort of characterizes them to a certain degree. Like, to your point, Terry, like I feel as though these characters are real, and some of the elements of their personalities or the way they conduct themselves might be ratcheted up just a tiny notch,
just a little,
but they're still so believable. And at the end of the day, Bradley Cooper's or Pat Salvatano's case of bipolar is going to be incredibly different to someone else's sort of reality of how bipolar affects them.
But it's also part of that character, right? It's not trying to make fun of someone with it. It's
exactly.
This particular character with this particular trait. I'm with Terry when he said that. Like,
I think
it's part of the character, and that's part of the story.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, they look at performances like this. Well, not just performances. Let's take the movie out of the equation for a moment, and people are too inclined to use vernacular that might take advantage or be triggering to someone that has a mental illness. And so people use things like, oh, I'm a little bit OCD. It's like, you can't be a little bit OCD. That's a disorder. You either are or you are not. You might be mildly, as in like acute levels, but it's like you're not a little bit. It's like I am OCD, but I'm only OCD about particular things, and it has minimal impact on my life.
They're using that as a passing phrase to make an excuse for a little idiosyncrasy they have.
Exactly, a little idiosyncrasy that they might have. It might be an obsessive behavior, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they have OCD. And so I don't think anyone who watches this film, just to bring the movie back in, anyone watching this film, I don't think this film is trying to set itself up to be, this is what bipolar is. This is what anxiety is. This is what post-manic, like manic depression kind of looks like. It's not trying to be any of those things. It's meant to be.
It doesn't even put it on its head, does it? It just says that here are the characters and this is how they're behaving. It's not
precisely.
This is
it's like
Pat,
this is the character.
This
is a history. This is the experiences that they have. This is maybe in part maybe why he's like this, to use that term. But what I like about the film, and I think of films like The Way Back. I love to think about what's it? I want to get a nice even tan. It's like this drink is empty and it's just not right.
The neighbor.
Yeah, the neighbor.
Jamie's character.
Yeah, like I love the idea that she is on like the coast of I really hope that she's on the coast of Florida somewhere. This lady that's like that. And this film's much the same. I would love the idea of these two people that have had these traumatic experiences that kind of find each other. Like, this movie didn't have action set pieces, but the scene where he's running in his trash bags and she just does like this loop around him and he's like up in his face. I love that scene. I love the way that it's shot. I love the way that they move their bodies in that scene. I love how close and up in his grill she gets. Like, it doesn't have action sequences. It doesn't have explosions of the like literal sense, but there's so many great scenes in this film. I love their dance number.
Yeah, and those movies have to offset that with these big dramatic sort of like, character moments.
Yeah, so this movie to me is just a really charming window into a slice of someone's life, whether it's meant to be taken super seriously. I love the interplay between him and his dad. His dad reminds me of my dad, not because my dad's a sports fan and is obsessive about like kind of gambling and has like a bookie racket going in the background, but because if you got my dad talking about a particular topic, you could not get a word in edgewise. Like, if you mentioned any type of car, any type of racing, that kind of stuff, those were his go buttons for conversation. Like, he's not a huge extrovert, but if you got him talking on those things, he would not stop. He would talk your ear off, and then you would hate him and never want to come to our house again. Like, it's just, I don't know. So I tracked a lot with that, the friction between them. Even though there's like a massive amount of respect there, there's like a fundamental misunderstanding between them. Like De Niro doesn't get his son. He doesn't understand the things that went wrong in his brain, or the things that went wrong that made him this way. Like, and yeah, I don't know. I think he's every person that's ever had a mental illness or a disorder or something like that happen or go wrong. He's their dad. Who's like, I don't understand what's going on, and not doing a good job of trying to understand. Even though they want to, they're not doing a great job. A lot to say about this.
I think that I like. Hero in this story is, or this film is actually Jackie Weaver. I think she was phenomenal. Like, she kind of reminded me of that kind of parent that like turns a blind eye and everything's great, everything's fantastic. And it just really, I think that actually highlighted to me just how I don't know how much range that Jackie Weaver has, not having seen her in all that much.
Yeah, definitely. She's not one for conflict, right? She wants everyone to be happy. I think everyone has female figure potentially in their life that's like that. I just want to highlight again De Niro in this one. I wonder who he went up against that year, because he is phenomenal in this role, and he has so many fantastic moments. And I just love how if you could look that up, Hendrix, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I love how his story so eloquently ties back into, you know, the relationship that develops between him and Pat, his son, played by Bradley Cooper, and sort of how those two arcs sort of peak at the same time. He has one fantastic moment that had me thinking about Pod Blast, Mr. Ben Stapleton as well. Ben has noted before that he doesn't frequently get emotional in film, but one of his triggers often is moments of pride between mentor or father figures and and sons and proteges or whatnot. And there is one particular moment at the end of this where the relationship hits that positive high point between father and son, and De Niro turns to Cooper and says, like, son, like he basically in the space of 30 seconds does the best he can to impart as much wisdom to his son as physically possible to really help guide him on a journey that he doesn't understand, but he's trying to. And it had me, man. It had me tearing up. It's a moment that, I'd forgotten about, honestly, when revisiting the film. And it really got me again. And I'm gonna have to send you clips of moments where he does things with his body that I'm not even going to try and replicate here to try and communicate how much I loved his performance in this one. Hopefully I can find them on YouTube and you'll understand what I'm talking about. But Hendrix, did you happen to find who he lost to?
Yeah, so I know why he lost.
Oh, hang on, can I guess? I think I've just remembered.
Waltz won.
I was just about to guess that. Yeah.
I just said it.
Django, yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it was Christoph Waltz for Django Unchained. So, and I'm really sorry, but he definitely deserved that.
No, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's a hard one to crack because he did really, really good in that. Django is such a good film.
I need to rewatch that, man. It's been a while.
Such a good film.
I feel like I need to go through
one of my
all of
favorites.
Tarantino films again.
I've done that twice in the past 12 months.
Oh wow. Okay.
Well, I did it once myself, and then Miranda really wanted to do it. She's like, "Can we watch them all again?" And I'm like,
gosh,
if I
blame
have to."
Miranda. Blame Miranda. It's nothing to do with the fact that you were itching to do it a second time.
Anyway, that is our review of Silver Linings Playbook. It is streaming on Australian Netflix right now. If you haven't checked it out, you can do far worse. I think we can all recommend that you give it at least one shot.